there have been concerns over what is described as federal government's inconsistent policies and duplication of contracts already awarded by the previous government of President Muhammadu Buhari for the International Cargo Tracking Note Scheme, that's the ICTN. The Federal Executive Council on July 13, 2024, approved a contract to procure advanced solution technology in the Nigerian oil and gas sector, thereby re-awarding an already existing contract. The Minister of State for Petroleum, Heineke Lokpobiri, announced the deal at a press briefing, saying it will enable the country to track every cargo of crude oil loaded in Nigeria up to its destination. However, official documents available to this day newspaper revealed that the federal government had in March 2023 awarded a similar contract for the cargo tracking system to a consortium of 5 companies. While Arise analyst Mr. Dayo Sobowale joins us now to speak on recurring contract breaches by the administration of President Bola Tinubu. Good afternoon, sir, and a warm welcome to Newsday. Right. This is quite a tricky issue, but I'd love to hear your initial take on the re-awarding of contracts, specifically with ICTN, that had been done in the previous administration.
It's irregular. It is irregular. And it
Sorry, did you say it's regular or irregular?
It is irregular.
Okay.
Irregular. It's not supposed to be done. And it's due to poor monitoring and poor record keeping, poor contract management. And it's to be expected. If you remember, during the last days of the Buhari administration, they are awarding so many contracts, and we are saying so many things. That is what is coming in out now. They need to reconcile the contracts this government inherited, the ones they want to keep on track, to continue with, and they want to discard. And you just don't discard contracts. You have to follow the legal scenario that brought the contract into being. And that involves getting lawyers to take a look. I'm sure many ministries have their legal department, which can do it. But for the federal government, it's the Attorney General. So this one is very clear, the way they have put it. The tracking is supposed to make us accountable for how we send out our, in the days when I was doing when I was in the bank, we went on an excursion to an oil depot. It was a youth copper monitoring what is going to the cargo. For this, you can imagine that it is now that you are doing this tracking. You know how many oils have gone astray? That's right. But at long last, it is being done. But they should not duplicate the effort. And it shows also the wildness of our economic control. Somebody once said, it was a listening, I think it was a listening Ayida, former permanent secretary, that we have a very wild economy. We do not know all the sources of our revenue. And I'm sure this is still part of it. Because if you duplicate monitoring effort and the contract is coming from the same purse, that is wasting. That is wasting. And that cripples the pace at which the economy should develop. And all of us suffer at the end of the day. So let's leave it at that for now.
Also, Mr. Sobowale, I also appreciate what you mentioned earlier about the contracts not being able to be discarded abruptly, but must follow a specific due process. Now, I'm just wondering what you think might be the potential legal and economic ramifications for Nigeria if this contract breach leads to international arbitration.
Well, if we violate the contract conditions, they'll take us to court. The country is not above the law, both internally and externally. And you can see what is happening with the Chinese. Although some of these cases can be frivolous, and they come about because they think we are careless people with this sort of thing. And they think that there is no continuity in our form of governance, that we do not hand over. But this time around, you see, it is the customs boss who is raising the alarm, which means there is some internal skill which we can use to monitor this sort of thing. And aside from duplication of effort and authority, you can see that it is said in that story that the equipment that is being duplicated contractually should be under the Blue Economy Ministry. You get me? But that is a new one, so you can make allowance for that. They need to adjust because it is a new one, and they need to reconcile what they do. But obviously, there is need for better management and greater synergy between the various ministries to avoid the duplication of effort and wastage of resources in monitoring.
Mr. Sobowale, what do you think is at the core of this issue? Because it's not just with the ICTN tracking that we've seen it. You've already alluded to the example of the Chinese in Ogun State recently. And generally we see, although contracts may not be violated, but we see so many instances of a new administration coming in and disregarding what the previous administration did and choosing to just, start their own things or do things in their own way. Now, the Citizens Advocacy for Social and Economic Rights, CISA, has described it as high-level corruption. In their eyes, it's corruption that drives it. But I'm just curious, what do you think is driving these irregularities that seem to always crop up when administrations hand over?
Lack of proper information sharing. Lack of proper information sharing. But then, it is easy for people to call it corruption, because it's duplication of expenditure. And maybe they think some people may benefit from it, but it could be honest mistake, just like the one we said about the blue economy, which is just coming on board. And the fact raised by the Director of Customs and the Bureau of Public Enterprises, we said, okay, it will delay approval for certain things until they sort things out. But that is management. And that is why, you see, it may look as if the riding people. That's why we are a developing economy. Get me? We have more of this type of problems than in a developed economy. Everything is, the data is there. You just monitor. Get me? We are a developing economy. You see, these are basic equipment to monitor our own resources, our own wealth. And we don't have them. And we are duplicating effort in purchasing them. So, don't feel alarmed when these sort of things happen. It is the nature of our level of development. And that is why government is a continuum. We pray for better government, less corruption, so that people can be dragged out of poverty. And the quality of life of the people who put those in power there will be better. Sam?
Sam. Yes. Okay, Mr. Sobowale, well, you sort of already answered this question when you were responding to advice. But you did say one of the causes of that is lack of proper information sharing. I also deem that a potential solution when it comes to possible reforms that you might recommend to prevent such contract duplications and policy inconsistencies in the future.
I won't call them policy inconsistencies.
Okay.
They are poor policy execution based on poor contract management and poor monitoring. Do you get me? You should put your house in order. But you have always seen this recurring. You know, when we wanted to distribute palliatives, they said we have no register. Yep. You know the person who said that. Then later they discovered we have register. They are not, you see, researching into what we have on hand. So to make sure that we don't duplicate effort and waste scarce resources. So that's it. We learn by the day, although we don't have eternity to learn.
Yeah.
But then that's why we are developing. Don't use the word developing, touch it out very well. Developing, not developed economy. So that's how I see it.
But in the context of that, because, I mean, you know, the world of emerging economies is filled with so many countries. But one of the issues here, especially highlighted by this article from this day, is that it poses a great threat to the ease of doing businesses. So local business people may be climatized to maneuvering these things. You know, we're familiar with the terrain, but international investors, these people that we're pursuing to try and come and work into Nigeria, it puts a lot of people off, especially when you're talking about, you know, massive multi-million-dollar investments. So, you know, how do we manage that? Okay, fine, we're developing, but surely we can't be...
to answer the question?
No, I'm asking, I'm just elaborating. How do we manage that?
That's right. Those who are coming here, they know the market they are coming into. And I can assure you, they have built the cost of this bureaucracy and lack of information, lack of management. They have built it into their system. And they still make profit in spite of it. But that is no apology for undue wastage and unnecessary expenditure. But then, see, it's a human situation. It's an economic situation. You get me? You say in economics, you say ceteris paribus, all things being equal. But they're never equal. They're never equal. And the context of any economic activity varies. I mean, the context varies. These Europeans, these international people, especially the Chinese, they know us now, and we don't keep records. That's why they take us to international court of justice. And we are buying, purchasing equipment to do it. We are duplicating the effort. So you have a myriad of problems. So when you ask your question, go straight to the point. You have to live with it.
We're going to live with it.
You have to live with it and improve. That's it.
Okay.
Don't be pessimistic about it.
No,
I'm
just wondering how we stop scaring people away, because it does scare people away.
I told you one thing. You see, I'm not defending corruption. And all these things we see, which are duplications, we may think they are mistakes. Some could be deliberate and whatnot. But luckily, some people have cried foul. Yeah. That is why we are here discussing it. And hopefully, government will listen and put its house in order.
All right, Mr.
And avert corruption where it can.
Very well said, Mr. Sobowale. Do you mind touching on what role you think the National Assembly could play in providing an oversight, providing an oversight to ensure that such contractual issues don't reoccur?
See, the National Assembly is even active on that sort of thing. You know, they have so many committees, people, these are the sort of things. You can bet they are onto this. But then, you see, when the National Assembly too comes in, they so over-monitor the situation that the expenditure they incur in monitoring may be more than the contract they are trying to make sure it's run properly. So, we are a civilized nation. We have the monitoring machinery in place. But they are not exactly blind, but you see that there are lapses. So that's the Nigerian situation. Hopefully, we will improve. That's the best I can say.
Well, some might say that hope is not a strategy, but to each their own. Thank you so much for this conversation, Mr. Sobowale. I'm glad we got to unpack it in great detail.